good morning, good morning. Today we're going to do a fireside chat and we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So as you come on, if you have a topic or a question, lay it on me. As you can see behind me, the smoke. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Emil. What do you two want to talk about? You're the first ones on. You get the first shot at it. Hello, Nick. Hello, Sherry. Susan Sabo. Aloha. Hello, Joshua. Christy, you must have something you want to talk about. Don's always got something he wants to talk about. Good morning, Emil. Jay Havad Hagen. Jay Havad, where are you from? Morning, Jennifer. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but I think this is the same shirt I had on yesterday. I don't think I shaved. But I got some official Zooms I got to do this afternoon. So, Donna Austin, you're on my list, which you've been on my list for weeks. Hello, Gail. What's going on in Texas? Okay, well, you guys got to bring the subjects. How about Donna Austin? Donna, you're a thinker. You're a deep thinker. You must have something you want to talk about. Come on. Andre, hello, Junior. Cold in Texas. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Sherry. Successfully getting builders coached, inactivity, and independent. Successfully getting builders coached, inactivity, and independent. Well, that's a big subject. So, how did I end up in Hawaii? All right, I'll tell that story too, because there's a story there. So first of all, let me talk about coaching leaders. So most people have the definition of coaching is the coach tells the other person what to do. And that's not my definition of coaching, not my distinction of coaching. Mine is different. And it's not, I'm the only person that has my definition. There's a lot of people that share this distinction of coaching, but it is quite a bit different than telling people what to do. And so that'd be like the first place I would suggest you look when you're thinking about coaching your team, is do you tell your team what they should do, or do you ask your team what they want to do? And if you'll learn to make your coaching all about asking questions and not about telling people what to do, I think you'll find that you create much more independence and much more success. So, you know, for example, let's say you want your team to be more productive. That's a legitimate desire on your part. You're building a team, you're building a sales force, perhaps, in whatever business you're in, and you want your team to be more productive. So you could ask them, hey, would you guys, talk to more people, sell more product, build a bigger sales team? This is what you should be doing. You could do that. So like the gradients work like this. So to the far left would be you telling people what they should do. You guys should be talking to more people. You should be working harder. You should be more consistent. Well, how does that land when people tell you what you should be doing? I'll tell you how it lands with me when people tell me what I should be doing is I tend to push back pretty hard. Like I tend to do less than I was even doing before. And it's probably because my personality is not submissive, right? My personality is a little bit more rebellious. So submissive people may do a little bit more when they're told what they should do, but it's not authentic for them. It's not internally motivated. They're doing it for someone else or doing it to look good, right? Those aren't really good motives. So then in the middle would be asking people to do more. Hey, would you do more? Well, that's softer. That's a little bit more effective, but it pales in comparison to asking people questions that would elicit an internal motivation. Like, hey, why did you sign up to sell this product to begin with? Hey, what were you looking to get out of this opportunity to begin with? Like, hey, what are your goals? What do you want? Why do you want that? Go back to well, I don't know if we've talked about it much here, but motive is kind of like an iceberg, right? And what we tend to run into is the tip of the iceberg where somebody says, I want more money. Well, that's great, but that's not enough to motivate you. What you got to find out is what's in the iceberg. What's in here? What's in the heart of the motive? And you do that by asking, well, how much money do you want? And when do you want it? And why do you want it? And what are you going to do with it? How's that going to make you feel? And be in that conversation with people for as long as you can be in it. And that's how we motivate people. So if you want people to do more, you got to motivate them. That's the only way you get people to do more. Now, you can motivate them by berating them, but it doesn't work very good, not long term. Certainly doesn't create independence, right? They just do it until you're not looking or you stop berating them and then they quit performing. You can ask people to do it. You can even, throw out incentives to do it. But that also, that's like, people chasing carrots. That wears out after a while. The kind of motivation that creates independence is when people have their own internal conversation, their own vision, their own fire for doing what they're doing. And so if you have a team of people that aren't producing the way you want them to produce, what you can know about them is they've lost touch with their motivation. They don't have a story anymore like they might have had when they joined about, this is so awesome. This is going to be so great. I'm going to be so successful. This is going to be so much fun, right? They don't have that story anymore. Their story sounds kind of like, the last 3 people I enrolled quit. And, this is a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. And, would you like some cheese with your wine, right? That's their story. And that kind of story doesn't produce top results. The only story that produces top results is the on fire story. So you want to get your team on fire, you got to start asking them questions that will put them in touch and you in touch with their heart on fire. What's in that iceberg? What's below that? I'd like to earn some extra money. And you do that by asking questions. And that's transformational coaching. And Donna, how did I end up in Hawaii? Well, in about, I'm going to guess and say 2010, I have been over the years a regular keynote speaker at an event called the Mastermind event, which is an iteration of John Fogg's original Mastermind event, which he created with Upline Magazine, which was the first generic event in the history of our profession where sales leaders from all companies came together, and there were 8 or 10 speakers and workshops, and so everybody came together to learn together in the profession. John Fogg created that program in the late 1980s, early 1990s, and one of his staff members who worked for his company was a guy named Art Jonak. And Art learned about network marketing through being a staff member at Upline Magazine, and Art ended up marrying Tom Schreider, Big Al Tom Schreider's daughter. And so Art got taken up into the network marketing profession through those 2 interesting events. And when John Fogg retired and quit doing the generic mastermind events, Art Jonak created the second wave of the mastermind events, which still go on today every year in the fall. And I don't speak there anymore, but I used to speak there every year. And I met Kimmy, my wife, at one of those events, along with, 1,000 other people. And I met her the second year at that event, along with 1,000 other people. And then after the second year, she came to a vision workshop that I did in Los Angeles. And she hired me. She was already a 7-figure earner in network marketing. And she hired me as her coach. And so I coached her for about 6 months, and then she fired me because we fell in love. And then her company went out of business. Actually, it sold to another company, and she didn't like that company, so she joined my company. Anyway, long story short, we got married, and that was 6 years ago. And at the time, I was living in Carmel, California in the winter, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho in the summer, and Kimmy was living in Honolulu. She grew up in Hawaii. So she spent a couple of years in Carmel and Coeur d'Alene with me, and did not enjoy either one of those locations as much as she did Hawaii. and she started proposing that we move to Hawaii. And I don't like tourism, and I don't like that whole scene, kind of the Disneyland scene. And so I wasn't very interested in moving to Hawaii at all. And we went around and looked at all the islands just whenever we were hanging out there at her home. And I didn't like any of them until we found the island of Lanai. And I fell in love with Lanai. Why? Because there's nobody there, which is why I like this place, right? It's a little smoky, but there's no one here. There's no one within, well, the closest person's a mile away. And I like solitude, and I like privacy, and I like quiet, right? So the only thing you hear here are the quail and the dove, and you don't hear traffic, and you don't hear sirens, and you don't hear any of that kind of stuff. And Lanai's the same way. There's only 3,000 people. There's one little town, one little gas station, one little grocery store. Speed limit's 35 miles an hour. There's no stoplights. We drive our golf cart everywhere. A lot of people don't like Lanai because there's no shopping and there's no nightlife, and there's only like 3 restaurants. And but we love it for all of that simplicity. And so we fell in love, and we sold Carmel, and then we eventually sold Coeur d'Alene, and now Lanai is our full-time residence. And I come here to the ranch, which is in the foothills below Yosemite in California, a couple times a year to get my ranch fix, because this is where I grew up. And there you have it. That's how we ended up in Lanai. And if you ever get to Maui, any of you ever get to Maui, you're only like a 40-minute ferry ride from Lanai. And I'm not saying that I will come and meet you for coffee or lunch or breakfast or something, but don't hesitate to reach out if you're there, because if you're at Maui, if you're on Maui, anywhere on Maui at any of the resorts, you're looking right at Lanai. It's 10 miles away, and it's worth a trip. And there you go. I'll see you guys tomorrow.